This is your host, Miss B, on WGHP 102.4 FM. We're getting ready for a live broadcast once again with a gentleman who has one heck of a story to tell. He was just released recently after 15 years. God is good, from prison. So I'm going to get him on the line with me. Let's see. Once again, this is your host, The Real Miss B, on WGHP 102.4 FM. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for tapping in today. And most importantly, I want to thank my guests for joining me on this live feed. And I am streaming live from Southern California. And my guest joining me is in Detroit, Michigan. So I have a guest all the way in Detroit, Michigan. For those who are listening on the airwaves, listening on the radio, I want to let you know this broadcast is going not only on Instagram, but it's recording for iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Tune, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast outlets. So this broadcast is going up on many platforms right now, and I want to thank you for joining me tonight. My guest is Kenneth Nixon. Kenneth, tell everybody who you are and what is actually your story tonight.
My name is Kenneth Nixon. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I was wrongfully convicted of 2 first-degree murder counts, 4 attempted murders, and 1 count of arson in 2005. On February 18th, 2021, I was exonerated and I walked out of prison, innocent and free man.
And I want to commend you, because you played a major part in that as well. But not only yourself, but you had a team of people. The Cooley Law School played a major part with their role with the Innocent Project. And then your mom, you actually mentioned your girlfriend. She stuck by your side. And, I've always personally wondered, hey, does that happen? So it happened for you. So that is an amazing thing. What has your life been like inside the prison? I can't even imagine. So you tell us.
I mean, it was hell. That's for certain. Like, no 2 days are the same. I don't even know how to describe it. It was painful. It hurt. That's for sure. It's something that you never could ever fully process or grasp the reality of why you're incarcerated for a crime you didn't commit. Like, that's a thought that you never actually get an answer to. Nobody ever answers that question. It's one of those things you go to the grave wondering the truth behind it.
Wow. So take us back to that night. You were only 19, and what actually happened?
As far as the crime goes, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I only know what the police said happened. But as far as me, it was a normal day for me. I was working. I was hanging out with my son. I went home at a reasonable hour, 10 o'clock at night, was in the house and stayed in the house, never left back out of the house. And next thing you know, a few hours, before the sun rose, my door was being smashed down by the Violent Crime Task Force, which is a multi-agency task force that is put together literally to chase down the worst of the worst. And my door came crashing down, and guys in tactical outfits with big guns came in, threw me down on the floor, handcuffed me, and next thing you know, I was arrested for a crime that I didn't even know had happened or taken place.
And I can imagine just hearing the story, the grief and the agony that you also felt, within your mind, but actually even physically, I didn't get the opportunity to share with you, my personal experiences, but I remember me just as a person wanting to call the police, because I needed assistance in a domestic situation. Unless, I'm ending up in handcuffs, going to jail. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, I called y'all because I needed help here, And then just trying to explain myself and trying to talk to the officers. There is no talking. The handcuffs were tight, and then once I was inside of the jail, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really going down. So I can't even imagine, and I'm like, I'm the one to make the phone call here. So I felt so many emotions, and I think it happened over the weekend. So I actually had to spend days, from Friday, Saturday, and wait till Monday. And then lo and behold, the person I called the police, thank God, thank you for bailing me out of jail. And then later on, everything was just dropped. It was considered to be just personally, if nothing happened between us within a year, everything was dropped, everything was cleared, and I was able to proceed and move on with my life. Thank God. And that actually has happened to where anything shows up on my record. So for someone who has went to prison, now trying to get back into the system and you're innocent, how is this experience going to be like for you trying to get back into everyday life?
I guess the simple answer is you just got to take it one day at a time. Like there's no blueprint. There's no book. There's nobody that has the answer to these questions, right? Luckily for me, since 2018, when the Conviction Integrity Unit started in my county, there were 27 guys exonerated before me. So I've got quite a few people to ask, how to do this or how to do that or how to navigate this process. There's, I got options, I have people, family members that without are there, there's people for me to ask and figure out the process. It's not a simple process, that's for certain. It's not easy, but one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, it'll get done. Just can't give up. You got to keep the faith and keep moving forward.
Now, for you, you're actually now interested in even learning the law even further. And so my question would be, are you going to be on the prosecuting side or the defensive side? If you were to go into law, and if that is something that you pursue, which side would you want to be on?
You know what? I both sides require a bit of change, and I wouldn't mind either side, simply because in order to change the status quo, you got to push the envelope, right? It's the prosecutors that are now willing to accept criticism and willing to take the lashings that come with admitting their wrongs, that have become the best prosecutors, have become the most well-known prosecutors. It's those people that are taking a leap of faith and starting conviction integrity units and conviction review units. It's those people that are really making the most impact, because it takes a big person to be able to say, I made a mistake, or we made a mistake, right? As an organization, as a company, as a part of a government agency, we made a mistake. So to answer your question, that I don't think in this day and age it's a bad thing to say, I wouldn't mind being a prosecutor. However, on the other side of that, I've had some bad attorneys, right? I cycled through 7 attorneys before I found my freedom again. And not all of them were good. There were a few of them that were great attorneys that fought tooth and nail, because they believed in me. But the other side of that is that there's some that they took our money and didn't produce half of what they promised us, not even a quarter of what they promised us. So there's bad actors on both sides. I would like to, wherever there's an availability for me to make change on the law side, I'm with it. I'm game. You know, I'm willing to push the status quo. I'm willing to push the envelope and challenge the standard on either side. Whichever becomes available first, I'm with it.
And I commend you. You know, that's an amazing thing to say. And, you know, it takes a lot of courage, you know, just to say I'm down for whichever side. I just want to be inside and a part just to make a difference. Because most people, you know, they may come out of the system and that's probably the last thing that they may think about. Have you actually considered mentoring, you know, working with the youth to keep them out of jail? Is that something that you would like to, of course, within our black community, see happen?
Of course. I mean, of course. There's I see an avenue available for that because, you know, as an inner city youth, you know, somebody that spent my entire life in the inner city, I didn't know the suburbs until I was older. So I understand what it meant for somebody to say, hey, don't do that. That's not a good idea. You know, don't try that. You shouldn't go that direction. There's plenty of people that probably wouldn't be in prison had they had that option, had they had the opportunity for somebody to say, don't do that, or that's not a good idea. If that one person, I mean, the fact is the statistics say that every child will be okay. You can grow up to be just fine if you got one positive person in your life. And I wouldn't mind being that one person.
When the situation happened, you yourself are a dad, you're a father.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you talked to your son? What effects now over the course of the years has this impacted him? Actually, you're a dad too, so both children.
For a kid, especially boys, right? There's things that you want to do with dad, right? Sporting events are a dad thing. You know, taking a shower, teaching them how to take a shower is a dad thing. Teaching them how to use deodorant, that's a dad thing, right? Barbershops are a dad thing. There's certain things that you want to do with dad that when you're incarcerated, you can't, right? I'm parenting through 15-minute phone calls from prison. So my entire parenting relationship, the relationship that I was able to develop with both my boys throughout my time of incarceration was based around 15-minute phone calls. So I did the best I could with what I had. However, the way that, in my opinion, you know, I don't want to speak for them. They're old enough, you know, to speak their feelings. But for me, it's difficult, and I think it affected them in ways that I don't know. I'm not sure that I completely comprehend because, you know, there were times when they were lashing out, and there were times when the aggression was directed at me because, you know, I wasn't there. So, you know, my word may not be as significant as it would if my presence was felt. You know, you're not going to say certain things to me when I'm standing in front of you that you would say while I'm incarcerated because you know I can't touch you. You know I can't get near you. So you might be a little more reckless with the things you say because you know this and you understand this. And this isn't something that's going on for a year. This is something that's going on for practically your entire life. So, you know, you kind of get the benefit when in the argument because you can say whatever you feel like. So I think it I don't want to say tarnished. It diminished our relationship to some extent, but it hindered us, but it didn't stop us.
Now, with you and the rest of your family, your mom, what emotions flow when you think about the effect that this had on her?
Frustration, anger, aggression, agony. You know, there's a whole slew of emotions that when you feel like something that affects you affects the people around you, right? When something makes her sad, it makes me sad. You kind of feed